So, Namaskar and Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. I hope all of you are doing well and thank you for joining in for the satsang today. Our topic for today is a very auspicious day, that of Ekadashi. So, we will take a story, a very well-known story of King Ambarisha, which also involves this Ekadashi, as a matter of fact in that story. So, Ambarisha, this story appears in the ninth skanda of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Ambarisha was a king who was part of the Ikshvaku dynasty, which is the same dynasty as that of Lord Rama. So there was a king called Nabhaga in that dynasty, and Ambarisha was the son of that Nabhaga. Now, Ambarisha was a very pious person, and although he was the king, he had absolutely no materialistic desires, no attachment to all the wealth and all the power and all other things that he had. Because he was king, he had a lot of power, he had access to so many things, but he was not attached to that. He spent all his time, other than whatever he gave to ruling the kingdom, all the time he spent in praying to Lord Sriman Narayana, in worshipping the Lord, in thinking about the Lord, in chanting the Lord's name. And he was a very dear devotee to the Lord himself. Now, the bhakta doing bhakti to God is one thing, but when the Lord accepts that bhakti, then that is a whole entirely different level of bhakti, isn't it? So, the Lord Himself was so pleased with Ambarisha that He had given His Sudarshana chakra to Ambarisha as a protection against any kind of dangers that may arise. So, once this Ambarisha Raja decided to do this Ekadashi Dwadashi Vrata for one entire year. So as we know normally, the Ekadashi Dwadashi Vrata means that you fast on the day of Ekadashi. In fact, the people who follow this fast very rigorously, they will start fasting from the evening of Dashami day itself, from the 10th day evening. Like the 10th day, the afternoon meal is the last meal that they consume. After that, they will not eat anything on the night of Dashami. The entire day of Ekadashi, they will not eat anything. And on the day of Dwadashi, there is a fixed time, a muhurta from a particular number of hours after sunrise. And that is the time when they are supposed to do what is called as the Dwadashi Paranai. And that is the breaking of the fast. So that is how it is followed. Now, this Ambarisha Raja and his wife, they decided to follow this vrata for an entire year. So, after they had completed that 1 year of the fast of doing this vrata, on the day of the Dwadashi, it was, time to break the fast. So, early that morning on the day of Dwadashi, at a place called Madhuvana, which is on the banks of the Yamuna River, this Ambarisha Raja had his holy bath in the Yamuna Nadi, and then he offered prayers to Lord Narayana. And after that, he, did lot of dana, godana, swarna dana, different kinds of dana he performed to all the people. Then he did annadana. He served all the people of his kingdom, everybody who had come there. He served them personally. He served them food. And after they had all eaten, finally it was time for him to consume the meal and to break the fast, to end the vrata. So at the right time, when he was about to sit down to have his food, Durvasa Muni came there. Now we know Durvasa Muni is one of the Brahma Rishis. So he's a very accomplished, very divine personality, who also we know that Durvasa has the, what you say, he is known, very well known for his anger, right? It is said that Durvasa's shapa is very powerful and everybody is scared of his shapa. So this Durvasa Muni came there at just the time when Ambarisha was about to sit down and break his fast. So Ambarisha Raja was very happy that Brahma Rishi has come. So I have the, punya, I have the opportunity to serve this great Rishi. So he invited the Rishi and said, please come, you also come and partake of the meal. I will serve you and I will have my food after that. So Durvasa Rishi said, fine, I will come, but I have to perform my morning, ritualistic bath and snan and I have to do my Sandhya Vandana and all those things. So I will take a dip in the Yamuna Nadi and I will come back after finishing my rituals and then we will have the food together. So Ambarisha Raja said, okay, fine, you please go and come. And he waited. Now Durvasa Muni went there and he finished his bath and he entered a state of meditation. And for a very long time, he didn't come back to this place where Ambarish Raja was waiting for him. So now this Dwadashi Parane is supposed to be completed within a fixed time. There is a particular time period, and within that time, you have to break the fast. If you don't do that, then it is considered that the entire phala which you will get, the entire fruit which comes from having performed the vrata is lost. So there is no use of having performed the vrata if you don't partake of the food at that particular time within that particular limit. So Ambarisha was worried now what to do. I have to wait for the Rishi because I have invited him as my guest. And when I have invited a guest, I can't eat before the guest. At the same time, if I just keep waiting indefinitely like this, the time of the Parane will pass, then the fruit of having done the Vrata will go away. Then there is no use. And in fact, it is said that when the Raja does this Vrata and he is doing this for the benefit of his entire kingdom. So if he does not break the fast within that time, not only that he will not get the phala of having done the Vrata, also ill will happen to the people of the kingdom where that Raja is ruling. So he was worried that because of this lapse on my behalf, my people are going to suffer. So he was wondering and he was worried about what to do. So he consulted all his, the Purohitas, all the ministers and everybody. And finally, everybody advised him that the only way out now is to take a sip of water. So when you drink water, it is on the one hand, it is equivalent to having broken the fast because you have consumed something. At the same time, because it is not food that you have taken, it is just water. So it is also equivalent to not having eaten anything. So that way, they arrived at this kind of a solution and said that, oh Raja, you please take water. Even that Ambarish Raja was hesitating because in his mind he felt it is not correct to do that. But then because they convinced him that if you don't do this, the people will suffer and bad will happen and you will not get any good benefit out of having done the vrata. So he agreed finally and he took 3 sips of water and he broke the fast. And then he was calmly waiting for the Rishi to appear. Now, a little time after this, Durvasa Muni came there. And when he came there, because he has Divya Drishti, he knows what is happening in the past, present, and future, isn't it? So Durvasa Muni realized, looking at the Raja, that he has broken the fast by consuming water. He got very angry and he said, how dare you do this? I am your Atithi. I have appeared here. I have come here. You invited me to be your guest. I never asked you to give me food, but you are the one who invited me to be your guest. And after having invited me to be your guest, how can you do this? How can you, commit this sacrilege? How can you eat without having offered anything to me? So Ambarisha Raja tried to explain that this is what is the reason why I had to do. But Durvasa never allowed him to speak even a single word. In his anger, he was so, upset and angry that he directly blamed the Raja and he said, there is no use of you telling me all this. I thought you were a very righteous person. Everybody says that you are a very great bhakta. But here, you don't know even the basics of how to care for an Atithi. I will teach you a lesson. And Durvasa pulled one strand of hair out of his locks and he threw it on the ground and pronounced a curse. And from that, a demon appeared. A horrible demon appeared and it started rushing towards Ambarisha because Durvasa wanted that this Rakshasa should go and kill Ambarisha for having committed that crime of, not following Atithi Upchara. So everybody else got scared. All the people who were standing there were all so scared that what is going to happen now? But Ambarisha was not at all disturbed. He just stood folding his hands as usual, praying to Sriman Narayana. And at that moment, when the demon rushed towards Ambarisha, out of seemingly nowhere, the Sudarshana chakra. You remember the Sudarshana chakra was kept by Lord Narayana with Ambarisha, that Sudarshana chakra appeared and at once it killed that demon. And now the next thing it did was it looked for who was the person who dared to try to trouble Ambarisha. And realizing that Durvasa is the person who is at fault for this entire thing, the Sudarshan chakra rushed towards Durvasa. Durvasa saw the chakra coming towards him. He was really terrified and he started running away. He ran to the mountains, he ran into the ocean, he ran here, he ran there. The Sudarshan chakra was just chasing behind him. At every point of time, wherever he looked back, the Sudarshan chakra was just chasing him. It just wouldn't let go of him. Finally, Durvasa realized that, okay, I'm not going to be able to escape this chakra on my own. So I need help from some higher powers. So he ran to Indra, Devendra, who is the Lord of Swarga and the Lord of all the Devatas. He's the king of all the Devatas. Indra said, I'm sorry, I am powerless against Darshan Chakra. I can't do anything. Durvasa ran to Shiva. Shiva said, I'm sorry, there's nothing that I can do to help you. He ran to Brahma. And Brahma said, no, I am also unable to help you. You have to approach that person to whom the chakra belongs. So finally, Durvasa ran to Vaikuntha because Vaikuntha is where Srimad Narayana is staying and that chakra belongs to Lord Narayana. So when Durvasa went there and asked forgiveness from Lord Srimad Narayana, the Lord advised him, even I am powerless against this chakra because it is acting on behalf of my devotee. Anybody who tries to harm my devotee will be harmed by the Sudarshan chakra. Even I cannot do anything to protect you, Durvasa. The only solution for you is to go and fall at the feet of Ambarisha himself and seek his forgiveness. So again, Durvasa ran back with the Sudarshan chakra chasing him, and he went and he was about to fall at the feet of Ambarisha, and he begged forgiveness and said, "Please forgive me. I'm sorry. I did not realize what a great bhakta you are, and I'm sorry that I committed the sin, the offense of talking bad against you. I now realize that whatever you have done was correct, and please forgive me." So Ambarisha was very embarrassed. He said, "No, no, Munivar, this is not the sthana for you. You are a Brahmarshi, and I am just an ordinary human being. There is nothing for you to beg forgiveness from me." And at that point of time, Ambarisha closed his eyes and prayed and said that if Lord Sriman Narayana is happy with my bhakti, if he is happy with my, service and my seva and my vrata, then please let the Sudarshan Chakra stop troubling Durvasa. And as soon as he prayed like this, the Sudarshan Chakra went away and Durvasa was now relieved. So finally, at the end of all this, they took the food together, they broke the vrata together, and then the other things continued. So what can we learn from this story of Ambarisha? Now, many times we think that somebody who is a bhakta of the Lord is always going to protect him. But does that mean that there will never be any bad things happening to us if we are doing bhakti? No. Ambarisha was such a great bhakta. Not only he did bhakti of Vishnu, but Vishnu himself was so happy with the bhakti of Ambarisha. He had sent Sudarshan Chakra to protect. But did the Lord ensure that no harm at all, nothing bad happened to Ambarisha? Bad happened. But even through that bad, the Lord's power protected him. So when we are sometimes on the path of sadhana, we think that, oh, we are doing sadhana. I am trying to be a bhakta. I am trying to offer my devotion to the Lord. How is it that bad things happen to me? So in our case, whatever bad happens to us or whatever good happens to us, everything is a result of our own past karma. So just because we are on the spiritual path, it does not mean that bad things will not happen to us. But the important thing to remember is that God will always be there to protect us from whatever wrong happens. We must learn to trust in Him. When the demon came towards Ambarisha, he did not think that, oh, I have done nothing wrong, and still see, despite being a bhakta, despite being correct in my actions, see how I am being troubled. Did he think like that? No. He remained unruffled. Whatever happened, It was really such a scary thing to have a demon come and start to pounce on you. But the devotee, this Ambarisha, was not at all disturbed by that. Why? Why was he able to keep that status? Because he had completely surrendered to the Lord's will. When his guards wanted to try and rush towards the demon to kill it or to do something to the demon, Ambarisha in fact told his guards that no, just stand still, don't bother about that. And he was just contemplating on the Lord, he was just chanting the Lord's name. So only when you have such complete surrender that God is there, he will take care, and whatever has to happen will happen as per God's will. That will give us the strength to face the most difficult of circumstances without feeling disturbed. So whenever there are incidents where there is going to be trouble, the Lord may not immediately jump in. He will wait for us to develop the bhava of surrender. Whether it was the case of Gajendra, whether it was the case of Ambarisha, whether it was the case of Draupadi, at all times the Lord did come to protect his devotee. But when did he come? When the devotee prayed for help, when the devotee surrendered himself to the Lord's will, that was the moment when the Lord appeared, or the Lord ensured that there is no trouble that comes to the devotee. So, there is another incident that I would like to narrate in this context, that somebody who has, surrendered to the Lord is called as a prapanna, because the act that they have performed is called as prapatti or sharanagati. It means surrendering to the Lord completely, believing that the Lord is going to uplift you and you are no one to do anything for your own upliftment. So that kind of a person who has performed this kind of sharanagati is called as a prapanna. Now there was one very great acharya in the tradition in the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya who came after Ramanujacharya. His name was Parasharabhatta. So this Parasharabhatta and his disciple called Nanjiyar, they were having a discussion once. And Parasharabhatta's disciple asks him that, Swami, how do you define a prapanna? Who is a true Sharanagata? How will you know what can be used to identify the quality of a prapanna? So at that time, Parasharabhatta gives him a situation and says, this is how a prapanna will behave. What is that situation? He says, let us imagine that this prapanna, okay, this person who has surrendered to God's will, this prapanna, he is having a large amount of money which has been collected to do annadana at a particular temple of the Lord. So that is money which is meant for the Lord's use. And let us say this person is walking through a dense forest and he's carrying that money which is going to be utilized for doing some annadana, some kainkarya in the temple. So it is God's money. He's traveling with that God's money through the forest and he hears the hoof sounds of horses, coming behind him. And he realizes that yes, there are some dacoits, there are some robbers who have come there chasing him to rob this money which is going to be used for the Lord's seva. Now, at that point of time, if this person does not start reciting Vishnu Sahasranama to get the Lord's protection, then he is a prapanna. Can we understand the significance of this statement? He is taking the money which is for God's use. So he has no selfish interest in protecting that money. And yet he does not pray to the Lord saying, protect me and protect this money from being robbed by those robbers. He has completely surrendered and thought that the Lord will do whatever is the most appropriate. And he does not feel the need to start reciting Vishnu Sahasranama to protect himself or that money which is meant for the Lord's use. That is how Parasharabhatta defined a prapanna. So such should be the quality, that you are doing something which is intended as seva to God. And even in that seva, you don't want anything of your own. You have no desire of your own, but you are completely surrendered to the Lord's will. That is when the Lord comes to protect us. So the Lord becomes a servant of his bhakta. Another point we have to remember here is, why did the Sudarshan chakra? It was chasing Durvasa at all points of time, isn't it? So why did the Sudarshan chakra not kill Durvasa Muni? It could have directly gone and cut off his head, but he did not do that. Now there is one set of people, one idea, one commentary which says that when somebody has turned their back and they are running away from you, then it is against the rules of dharma to kill that person. So to keep up the rules of dharma, Sudarshan Chakra just chased Durvasa. He was running and his back was towards the chakra. So when somebody is trying to escape from you, the rules of dharma say that you should not kill that person. So that is the reason why Sudarshan Chakra did not kill Durvasa. The Sri Vaishnava Acharyas give another very beautiful commentary about this, and they explain that why did the chakra not kill Durvasa? Now, the Sudarshan chakra is an ayudha of the Lord. So, always being with the Lord, the chakra knows what is there in the mind of the Lord, what is the desire of the Lord. Whenever somebody behaves, contrary to the Lord's expectation, when somebody behaves in a way which is not pleasing to the Lord, yet the Lord does not actually want to destroy them. The Lord will wait and wait and wait to see if that person is going to change their attitude. So because this chakra is with the Lord, it knows what is the Sudarshan chakra knows what is the desire of the Lord, that maybe now he will change, maybe now he will change, maybe now he will come and do surrender. And that is the reason why the chakra did not rush to kill Durvasa Muni, but it kept a distance and it was waiting and waiting like the Lord to see when the transformation would happen in Durvasa Muni. So the Lord is so willing to wait for that transformation. Sitting within us, He's constantly waiting to see when will this person turn towards me? When will this person recognize my presence within him? When will this person realize that he has to come to me? With that extreme love and patience, He is waiting for us. So we must try and develop that quality of unconditional surrender to the Lord. So, this quality of how the Lord feels about his devotees and how he feels that he is under the control of his devotees is very beautifully conveyed by the Lord himself in the Bhagavatam, in the ninth skanda, where this particular episode of Ambarisha is explained. There is a shloka. The Lord says, Aham bhakta paradhino yasvatantra ivadvija sadhurbhir grasta hridayo bhaktair bhakta janapriyaha. I am completely under the control of my devotees. We think the Lord is, Sarva Vyapi, Sarva Shaktiman. He is totally independent. He is Swatantra. So he does not need to depend upon anybody, isn't it? That is what we think. He has complete freedom to do anything and everything in the world. But the Lord, corrects this opinion. He says, I am not independent. I am not Swatantra. What am I? I am Bhakta Paradhina. I am completely under the control of my devotees. Why? Because these devotees do not have any material desires. So, in such devotees, I sit within their heart. And not only the devotees, if somebody is not my devotee directly, but he is the devotee of my devotee, even that person is very dear to me. So, that is what we must remember here, that the Lord is always there to serve his devotees. So he considers himself as being under the control of the devotee. So if we want the Lord to act as per our wish, the only answer is to either ourselves become bhakta or to become bhakta of a bhakta, to do seva of a sevaka of the Lord. That is much easier to find. We may not be able to cultivate devotion for the Lord directly. But if we find somebody who is a bhakta of the Lord, then we can definitely try to serve that person so that through that we reach the Lord. This is what we can learn from today's satsang, and we can try and cultivate this spirit. This very spirit is there in the Mukunda Mala also, in one of the shlokas of the Mukunda Mala, that the person who composed that, Kulashekar Alvar, he says that Oh Lord, I will consider myself most fortunate if you think of me as the bhakta of the bhakta of the bhakta of the bhakta of the bhakta. 7 times removed bhakta. Even you think that I am not your bhakta, but think that I am, the bhakta of your bhakta of your bhakta 7 times removed from you. Yet that will be, sampurna prapti of my life. I will consider my life as being bhagyavanta. I will consider my life as being blessed if you consider me as a devotee of your devotee of your devotee, servant of your servant of your servant, like. So we can try and cultivate this spirit within us and see how we can go ahead on the path of bhakti. So we have about 8 minutes left. Usha, you can sing the bhajan for today.
Akka.
Yeah, we can hear you, ma. Go ahead.
ಎಲ್ಲಿರುವನೋ ರಂಗ ಎಂಬ ಸಂಶಯ ಬೇಡ, ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಭಕ್ತರು ಕರೆದರಲ್ಲೇ ಬಂದೊದಗುವನು. ಎಲ್ಲಿರುವನೋ ರಂಗ ಎಂಬ ಸಂಶಯ ಬೇಡ, ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಭಕ್ತರು ಕರೆದರಲ್ಲೇ ಬಂದೊದಗುವನು. ತರಳ ಪ್ರಹ್ಲಾದ ಹರಿ ವಿಶ್ವಮಯನೆಂದು ಬರೆದೋದಲವನ ಪಿತ ಕೋಪದಿಂದ ಸ್ಥಿರವಾಗಿ ಕಂಭದಲ್ಲಿ ತೋರೆನಲು ಭರದಿಂದ ಬರಲದಕ್ಕೆ ವೈಕುಂಠ ನೆರೆಮನೆಯೇ. ಎಲ್ಲಿರುವನೋ ರಂಗ ಎಂಬ ಸಂಶಯ ಬೇಡ, ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಭಕ್ತರು ಕರೆದರಲ್ಲೇ ಬಂದೊದಗುವನು. ಕುರುಪತಿಯು ದ್ರೌಪದಿಯ ಸೀರೆಯನು ಸೆಳೆಯುತ್ತಿರೆ, ತರುಣಿ ಹಾ ಕೃಷ್ಣ ಎಂದುದರ ಕೇಳಿ ಭರದಿಂದ ಅಕ್ಷಯಾಂಬರವೀತ, ಭರದಿಂದ ಅಕ್ಷಯಾಂಬರವೀತ. ಹಸ್ತಿನಾಪುರಿಗೂ ದ್ವಾರಾವತಿಗೂ ಕೂಗಳತೆಯೇ. ಎಲ್ಲಿರುವನೋ ರಂಗ ಎಂಬ ಸಂಶಯ ಬೇಡ, ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಭಕ್ತರು ಕರೆದರಲ್ಲೇ ಬಂದೊದಗುವನು. ತೃಣದಲ್ಲಿ ಅಣುಮಾತುಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಪರಿಪೂರ್ಣ ಗಣನೆಯಿಲ್ಲದ ಮಹಾಮಹಿಮನೆನಿಪ ಘನಕೃಪಾನಿಧಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಪುರಂದರ ವಿಠಲ. ವಿಠಲ ವಿಠಲ ಘನಕೃಪಾನಿಧಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಪುರಂದರ ವಿಠಲ. ನೆನೆದವರ ಮನದಲ್ಲಿ ಇಹನೆಂಬೋ ಬಿರುದಿರಲು, ಎಲ್ಲಿರುವನೋ ರಂಗ ಎಂಬ ಸಂಶಯ ಬೇಡ, ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಭಕ್ತರು ಕರೆದರಲ್ಲೇ ಬಂದೊದಗುವನು. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Usha. Very nice. So, as she sang, where is he? He will definitely come and help us, right? So, let us remember that God is always there to help us, to take care of us, to protect us, and we should pray that His grace should be on us. right? So let us offer Kritagnyata, and then if anybody has anything to say, we can add that. Let us offer gratitude and Kritagnyata at the lotus feet of Sri Krishna and Guru for inspiring us to start and join this satsang. And let us pray that their blessings and grace should always be on us. Namaskar. If there is anything that anybody wants to share or ask or just say something, you are most welcome. Okay, so since it is nobody has anything more to add, we will close the satsang for today. Let us meet again next Tuesday and continue with yet another topic. Thank you all for joining in, and thank you for coming along on this journey as we are going ahead. Today was the 37th satsang. That means if you say around 4 weeks in a month, then that's close to about 9 months that we have started. And so many of us are sticking to it still and continuing through this journey. So that's a very heartening sign for all of us. It's good to have each other's satsang, and let the Lord bless us that we will be able to keep up this satsanga and gain from it more and more as time goes along. Thank you. Namaskar.